The FedEx Cup playoffs are set. The regular season is over. It is playoff time in the PGA Tour season, and we're going to take a look at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. We're going to preview the course. We're going to preview the field. We're going to do DFS. We're going to preview course fit. We're going to talk about who's in, who's out, everything. So let's get right into it. Let's start with the course. This week, we are at TPC Southwind. That is where the FedEx St. Jude Championship is played. And as you can see, this is the player profile that we are looking at for this tournament. You'll notice kind of a relatively easier course than what we'll see, especially when we get into East Lake, we get into some of these other tournaments in the playoffs. I guess there's only one other one. We've kind of seen a similar trend here the past couple weeks. Driving distance, not as important. Driving accuracy, although not as important at this course, it has been more important the last couple weeks. Now, if we go back to Sedgefield, which hosted last week's tournament, which we did very well on. Thank you for everybody that watched that video. It did better than I thought it would. We see here, this was Sedgefield last week. Driving accuracy was very important. Very important. This week at Southwind, more important than average, not as important. And you see distance isn't as important either. So again, if you watched last week, we were looking for golfers that are accurate off the tee. We were willing to sacrifice driving distance a little bit in order to achieve that. It's going to be more of the same, except the accuracy isn't going to be as more important. I would be more willing to take on a driver of the golf ball that hits the ball farther, maybe a little bit less accurate, because we see that the accuracy is not that important. So that is an overview of what the course fit is going to be. And let me put on my glasses so I can make sure I see everything. If for you guys looking for Easter eggs, these are coming soon. These are coming soon if you're a CarterCast fan. If not, you're just a golf fan, then we'll get right into it. So, TPC Southwind, Memphis, Tennessee. We're going to take a look at the course here. Quick little flyover. Take a look at what kind of shots are going to be needed and what kind of players are going to fit well at this course. So, this is hole 1. As you can see, about 290 yards out here. That leaves you with 140. There isn't really much here to point out. This bunker is going to be some trouble for players that miss it right. Will we see people take less than driver off of the tee? Maybe, if people are comfortable hitting 180 into the green. Not too many gimmicks here. We go to hole number 2, par 4, 394 yards, and it's a bit of the same. Very wide green here, so the dispersion of... Oh, hey. The dispersion of misses here, you know, you have quite a lot of wiggle room. It's your depth control, your power is going to be a little bit more important on this hole. But again, this tee shot 290 leaves you 104 in. Nothing too crazy. You just don't want to miss left with those bunkers. Even then, 100 yards in from the bunker isn't that crazy. Now we get into a little bit of fun. Par 5. You have 290 yards here with tons of rollout. So this is going to be a hole where the longer hitters are going to be able to take advantage of. If you even go out to here, that's 360 yards, and that's going to leave you, what, 210 into the green? Let's say set target to, let's say you wanted to go for the green. Yeah, it's going to leave you about 200 yards. So this is going to be a par 5 that a lot of guys go for if they are willing to risk losing the ball here. Right? So... this is a hole that's going to benefit the Bombers a little bit. Hole 3, the par 5. And you know what? While we're at it, what I want to do, let's go FedEx St. Jude Championship. And we'll look at hole level stats for last year too. So as you can see, hole 3 played very easy last year. That was the hole we just looked at. Par 3, hole 4. Got 195 yards. Not a whole lot going on here. Obviously, the miss to the left would be bad. You have room if you go long. I don't know what this green undulation is like. Can I switch to 3D? And will it? Nah, it's not going to give us... it's not going to give us much there. Par 3, don't want to miss it left. We're looking about a 200-yard par 3 there. Got a nice little parking lot. And this is really what we saw from the first 2 holes, a slight dog leg. You're going to want 290 probably. This is a par 5. But this is another one. You might see guys cut it up here if you have the distance. Again, this is why I think the accuracy isn't as important as it was at Sedgefield, is because you don't see these fairways that with sharp dog legs that trees surround them, and you can't, like here, you can bail out right and still be okay. You could try, there are no trees protecting, keeping players from trying to cut this and have, who knows, 180 yards. Like, there's nothing protecting the fairway here. So you will see guys like Potgieter probably try to cut this and have 180 yards into the green and set up for eagle. I think that isn't crazy on this hole, this par 5. So let's take a look here. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a par 4. That makes a lot more sense. So it plays as a par 4. More difficult. That makes sense. I was going to say, that seems way too easy. That makes more sense. See, it says par 5 here. Okay. Hole 6, par 4. Again, we see more of this. Like, you have a little bit of room on the left here. Not a very wide green, but you have a lot of space if you want to, you know, short, long, but protected by bunkers. So I'm guessing on Sunday, would not surprise me if the pin goes right about there. That would be asking for chaos. But again, 295 yards, not requiring a lot off the tee. Some guys might even take less. Hole 7, 479 yards, dead straight. But again, I mean, there's some, the bunker's an area of concern, I suppose. You can miss right and be okay. You don't want to miss left, but it's not like this is super tight and narrow. I'm sorry, you guys are probably getting motion sickness from this. That's pretty narrow fairway. So again, maybe that is why we're looking at a bit of an advantage for the accurate drivers, but there are still areas and shots that the bombers are going to be able to capitalize on. Par 3, 171 yards, nothing crazy here. A couple bunkers. Won't spend too much time there. Par 4, 457 yards. Sorry, just taking a look at... Yep. Again, kind of a goofy little dog leg. 310 to right here. The water isn't going to be in play much, but off the tee. But in your second shot, you're going to have to be very wary about it. So I'm seeing a couple of approaches that are going to have to be on par. On par, literally. This is a goofy looking hole. So we got 290. 290 right here. So, I mean, a lot of guys aren't going to be taking driver. And then 170 to the green. Par 3, this is fun. 160 yards. How hard does this hole play? Hole 11. Well, pretty easy, apparently. I guess it's only 150, 160 yards. That's a wider green. So my first takeaway is the back 9 is going to play much more difficult than the front, just from the 3 holes we've seen. 404 yards. Difficult tee shot. Again, this is going to be one that favors the accurate drivers compared to the bombers. But then from there, you have 115 in. I'm not seeing very long approaches. So, you know, the long iron players, I don't think are going to have as much of an advantage here. Again, you know, I wonder how far it is to clear this bunker. And that's a haul. That's kind of an interesting hole. It feels like it's not going to be too penalizing. Hole 14, par 3, a long one, 236 yards. I bet this one played. Yeah, figured as much. Hardest hole on the course? Yep. Because you got this water here too, so maybe this is where the long iron players make up a little bit of ground. But for the most part, the shots into greens are 100, 170 yards. Like, we're not seeing 200-yard approach shots. Par 4, again, this is no advantage of taking driver here for the big guys. Yeah, no advantage of taking driver here for the big guys, really. Even the big guys are probably going to be laying up. Hole 16, the easiest hole on the course, and you can tell kind of for good reason. This is 300 yards. It leaves you with about 230 in. But guys will probably probably play into here if they can't reach it. Chip on and putt would be my guess. Let's set position 2. You want to go. So 224 to carry the bunker if you hit a 300-yard drive. So that makes sense why this hole's playing pretty easy. Straight away, this is interesting. So that ravine won't get in the way likely. Long hole, tough hole. It's one of the tougher holes. Tied for 3rd toughest last year. Can't miss left. You can bail out right, which is going to be an advantage to the right-handed golfers. And then we wrap up with hole 18. I mean, this is just copy and paste Sawgrass 18. And this is another hole that played pretty difficult. About average, I guess. 300-yard drive leaves you with 153. Can't miss left. Right's okay. Obviously, you have the bunkers, but these guys are pros. They're not messing with too much there. So, that's what we have for the course. Very interesting. It's a good mix of, there are some holes where you can take driver and rip it. There's a good mix of you're going to want to plan out your shot accordingly and not just take driver and rip it. I think we are the course is very diverse for the first round of the PGA Tour playoffs. So what I want to do, I'm gonna look at the current standings and see. Just take a look at who missed the cut. A lot of names here we're gonna see. These guys are interesting because they are going to be playing to advance into the top 50 to the BMW Championship. So as of right now, the top 50 are in, but obviously that will change as the playoffs go. It's weighted very heavily to where your performance here will affect whether you make it or not. Now, a guy like Rory McIlroy, who's so high up there, he just said, hey, it's going to be 93 degrees in Memphis this week. I'm not playing. I'm going to be in the BMW next week anyway, no matter what. So that's what I'm looking at. Let's scroll. A couple guys that missed it here. Højgaard, Keith Mitchell, Bezuidenhout, my guy. Ryo, my guy. Rasmus, Meissner, Thor Bjornsson. A couple guys missed it there, but this is the group from 50 to 70 that I'm really interested in because they are going to have to play well in order to make it to the BMW next week. A guy like Aaron Rai. I don't really like Aaron Rai, but he's a guy that I would have my eye on. Fowler, I would love for him to make it. You is our guy. All right, so we have an idea of the course. We have an idea of the current state of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Let's take a look at the field, and let's take a look at some of the guys that we are going to see in DFS, who we think are good course fits, and things of that nature. So, with Scotty Scheffler back in the field, making his first appearance since the Open, we see a $13,000 price tag on him. And that's of no surprise. He's the hottest golfer in the game. We'll scroll here, Oh, wait, why is it 24? We want 25. There we go. Won the Open, won the Memorial, won the PGA. I mean, you know what you're getting with Scotty. If you, at this point, it's like you play him and you just try to find somebody down at the bottom to pair with. I mean, most of these winning combinations are going to have Scotty in them. That's just the nature of what it is. Now, however, his course history here isn't great. And we'll take a look at BetSperts. This is, let's go back and let's take a look at course history at Southwind. And we'll apply that. All time. And then we are filtered for the field. So this is going to be everybody that is playing this week. This is every player's course history at TPC Southwind. And we'll see here, Scotty Scheffler, the area he struggled the most here is putting. But that's just because he was a worse putter last year. He was not nearly as good of a putter last year as he is this year. So I look at that and I think, okay, we see bad. I mean, obviously, going back to 2014. And this was, before it was a part of the playoffs or whatever. 2022, like, he's just a better putter than he is now. So it's really tough to try to rationalize not taking Scotty for anything. He's going to be the favorite he's $13,000 for a reason as well. But we look down and we see $11,000 Xander Schauffele. Now, Xander has had a couple of good, I mean, hasn't missed many cuts, obviously. T7 at the Open, T8 at the Genesis. Hasn't played since. Wonder how he's done. So he finished T61 the 22nd at Travelers. Took a couple weeks off and then played at Genesis and played pretty well. When he did that again here. Took a week off here. Okay, that's interesting. Hasn't missed a cut this year. Has played decently well. I'm not anti-Xander. I am just very weary of this number. I'm weary of that number. And I also, let me duplicate this tab so we can take a look at something else as well. I want to see driving accuracy. Yeah, see, the driving accuracy here in the last 6 months for Xander is not great. And that worries me a little bit for Xander. So Xander's a guy that I'm not going to be super in on. Maybe a little bit of ownership, but not a lot. Now, Justin Thomas, this is an interesting one because he's kind of in the same boat as Xander, but he has won here before. He won here in 2020. The putter, you can see, has been an issue. The putting has gotten a lot better. Let's take a look at his past profiles, actually. I mean, see, that you can see here just from last year, the putting has gotten so much better than it was just a year ago. So we sit here and we want to talk about a guy like Justin Thomas. You see a couple missed cuts, couple won the RBC, second in Valspar, whatever. The history, he's won here. He's had a couple top 20s. And the putting is better. The putting is better now than it has ever been. So I would be more prone to take a guy like Justin Thomas than I would to take a guy over Xander than a Xander, and you're getting a $900 discount on a guy like Justin Thomas over Xander. So we'll take a look at Russell Henley, who wraps up this $10,000 range. Course fit, accurate, not very far off the tee, a good putter, a good all-around golfer, and the man's red hot. He played last at the Open. He didn't have to play the last 2 weeks. T5, T10 at the U.S. Open, T2 at the Travelers, T10 at the Open. Now, he missed the cut the PGA Championship. Fine. He won the Arnold Palmer Invitational in March. Wow. Not only does the guy like playing here, he plays here every single chance he gets. That's what I love about this. So let's take a look also over at the BetSperts. This is, again, last 6 months. Who's in the best form? Is Russell in good form? Yeah, I'd say so. He lacks in the driving distance. That's not a surprise. But everywhere else, he is so strong. This is a very viable option for someone that's wanting to build out a lineup with a top guy. Maybe doesn't want to use Scotty. It's going to be tough to work that in. But, guys, this is a guy that I think he's a very good course fit. He'll probably be somewhere. He might be in my portfolio to win this tournament. That's how much I like him. We will take. Let me take a look here real quick too. So this is course history. I want to take a look. I kind of want to take a look at floor ceiling too. Okay, so this is still filtered for. Okay, all right. Let's go back to the field. Take a look at Tommy Fleetwood. Guy has not won on the PGA Tour yet. Good all-around golfer, no question there. Couple good finishes, kind of mixed in. Hasn't played since the Open like a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys at the top haven't played since the Open because they had no need to play in the 2 events before the FedEx Cup playoffs. They didn't need to earn their spot in the playoffs. So, never missed a cut here. And what I'm going to do, actually going to make a note of that. Actually, is there even a cut this week? There shouldn't be a cut. Is there a cut at the FedEx St. Jude? No cut, so that doesn't even matter. We'll put that away for now. But as you see, has played pretty well here, and there probably was a cut back in the day before it was the championship here. T3, T4 in 2019. In good form. Again, another guy that is just kind of lacking in the distance department, but everything else looks really good. This is an interesting tool because it's floor ceiling. You can see how many the percentage of rounds that players have tournaments, I'm sorry, rounds that players have posted strokes gained total of 5 or more. And this is filtered for courses. I think what I'm going to do, or this is filtered for Southwind. I'll keep it at this. This will be a decent... Actually, no, I want more data. So I'm going to clear that, and I'm going to go last 6 months. Okay, so this is the amount of times a player has posted 5 or more strokes gained total in a round in the last 6 months at any course. So these are the golfers with the highest ceiling. And that's what we're filtered by here. We're going to see some bombers here. Tommy Fleetwood, for me, average. I would be playing Henley over Fleetwood. We'll take a look at Fitzpatrick, who did not have a... Oh, he picked it up last week. He was teetering around the cut line ahead of the weekend. Hot golfer, and has played well here before. We see he's pretty well-rounded. And then we take a look at... Not Fleetwood. We want Fitzpatrick. Good current form. He has the distance. He has the accuracy. Lacking in ball striking and approach. I think we're going to see... This doesn't matter as much. Let's take a look at the approach tool, actually, because I think we're going to find long iron play is not going to matter as much as what we think. So we don't really care about over 200. Let's do this here. It's not that great. Yeah, that's not that great. Okay, so that kind of makes me a little bit weary about playing any Matt Fitzpatrick this week. Let's take a look at Aubert. The guy drives the ball super well off the tee. Decent form. Missed the cut at the U.S. Open. Missed the cut at the PGA. Played here a couple times. Not great. But if I had to guess, he's probably going to be one of those guys that has a pretty high ceiling. Yeah, pretty high ceiling. Yeah, that's not surprising. Not one of my favorite plays. We'll skip over a couple of guys here in the 9K range. Patrick Cantlay, well-rounded golfer, but this is, you want to talk about a low ceiling. This is a guy, Patrick Cantlay, 0% of rounds in the last 6 months with 5 or more total strokes gained. 0. Now, his floor's high at 65% of rounds where he's at least gained positive strokes. So Cantlay is an option if you a safer option if you want that. But if you're looking for a guy, he might be a backbone of some lineups if you just want a safe option. But cut T32, he hasn't been playing great golf. Decent finishes here in the past. And then we'll take a look here. Not great around the green. Hasn't been great putting in the last 6 months, which is concerning. And accuracy off the tee hasn't been great, because that's kind of his bread and butter. Let's take a look at his... Oh, yeah. I mean, missed... That's a really bad putting performance for him at the Open. So Cantlay, I'm not going to have a lot of... A decent option if you're looking for a guy with a higher floor, lower ceiling, but not great. We'll take a look at a couple guys here. How long are we going? 23 minutes. Sam Burns putts the crap out of the ball. Hasn't really recently, but he's been when he does, you see here T17, T7, some pretty good performances. T5 here last year, has played decent at the course. We'll take a look. Ugh, that's not great. The putting's good. The off the tee's good, but everything else is pretty average. And this is probably going to be another guy with a low, I would think low ceiling and a high floor, but just by the looks of it so far, am I wrong? Oh, not bad. About a high ceiling, high floor, actually. That's not bad. I don't hate that. Is there anything else we want to look at here? Okay, so that's strokes gained for all of that. Let's keep going through a couple players, and then we'll toy around with those stats too. Hideki Matsuyama was a guy last week. I bet him to miss the cut. Started round 1 even. Started round 2 with a triple bogey and ended up shooting like 8 under the rest of the round to make the cut by 1. Crazy. This is a guy, though, probably not going to be that bad of a course fit. Couple good finishes. One here. Good course history the last 3 years. This I'm not a fan of. He's not great off of the tee. And I am kind of curious. I would be willing to bet this is not a great... Okay, so low floor, high ceiling, technically. Low floor, high ceiling for Matsuyama. I'm on the fence with him. Sepp Straka. He's going to be a course fit. Started off the season really well. Kind of fell off and hasn't played really well here. Keegan Bradley missed the cut last week. It's tough. He is trying to earn himself a spot onto the Ryder Cup team, so he has a little bit of extra motivation outside of the normal, I want to play well and win the FedEx Cup. I think that's probably going to be Scotty for the most part. But, excuse me. Sorry, we're doing something real quick. Okay. Not awful. A guy that has some extra motivation. We look here. This is a guy that... Oh, high floor, high ceiling. Another option that's not super poor. He just hasn't played well here before. That kind of worries me. Now, Corey Connors. Great off the tee for a 9,000 range guy. Has played some pretty good golf this year. And then we take a look at his performance here in the past. T50, T6, T28. Wyndham, T21. Meh. We don't want Sedgefield. There we go. T50, T6, T28. So, we take all that into consideration. We'll take a look at how he's been playing recently. I love this. I love this. I love this for Corey Connors. Love this for Corey Connors. Is he a boomer bust? Ceiling's high, floor's high. I like this Corey Connors option for this week. In the 8,500 range, I think Corey Connors is probably... I would take Burns and Connors so far. Those are the two guys that I would be interested in this 8K range. Aaron Rye's another guy, very accurate off of the tee. Decent history here. The course fits him well. The guy is, I mean, look at this off the tee. So short compared to the rest of the field. And this is a strong field. This is, we're getting the 70 best players in the FedEx Cup. This is a strong field, and we see where the inefficiency is in Rye's game. He is so far behind all of these other guys when it comes to this, but he's so much more accurate. He's so much more accurate. So it depends what you want to do with him. I don't think it's crazy to involve him in some stuff. You see here, the distance isn't there, but just about everything else is. And he's not going to have a high ceiling. He's almost going to be like a Patrick Cantlay type guy, kind of get him involved in the middle of things. I don't hate Aaron Rye. He's not going to be a staple of what's going on here. I will not be playing Cam Young, even though he just won. Yep, we'll keep that one short. We'll not be playing Cam Young. Ben Griffin, another sneaky option, has missed the 2 cuts at John Deere in the Open. Has played decent here. So he's not in the best form. The accuracy's been a problem. I don't like that. But I do think at this course, he's more likely to have success here than he would at, say, a Sedgefield, where the accuracy was really important. Here, it's a little important. Sedgefield, it was really important. So I don't hate the Ben Griffin option in this 8K range. And then we'll take a look at Chris Gotterup. This is interesting because he almost has the same skill profile as Cam Young. But we go and we take a look at this right here. Let's the ceiling floor. Gotterup has one of the highest ceilings, right? Because he hits the ball so far. Let's go here. At least I thought he did. Where'd he go? Yeah, there we go. the second highest. 11% of rounds with 5 or more strokes gained. So I don't hate this option either. And you're honestly kind of getting a high ceiling too. Goddard is not a... You see he's hot, right? He's not a very accurate driver of the golf ball. Has never played. Is that true? He's never played here before? Yeah, never played here before, so we don't really know how he's going to play the course. But if you're looking for a debutante, I think Goddard is probably going to be your guy. He's hot. The ceiling is there, and you can work him in with some lineups, and you can really try and get a spike week from him. Spike week, I know it's mostly used in football, but we're going to use it for golf too. All right, we'll power through a couple more of these. We're already getting on 30 minutes. Daniel Berger is a guy that has had great course history here. T5, T2, 2 wins. Fits the course well. The problem is he kind of has fallen off. He was hot there for a bit in the middle of the year, but he's kind of fading off. I don't hate him as a middle build guy, but you would hope that he'd be in better form. Harry Hall is one of our guys as well. Putts the lights out of the ball. Got us... we had him to win last week. He didn't quite win, obviously. Cam Young ran away with it, but he got us better than 46th place, which is the bet that I made if you follow us on X. Maybe a stay away this week for me, and I like him. I like Harry Hall, but the driving off the tee isn't there. Jordan Spieth, I think you might be getting a discount on him. He's playing some better golf here. Take a look at T6, T12, T12. Not awful. Missed the cut here in 22, but he was really struggling that year. Let's take a look. Not bad. Not a bad profile. The driving accuracy's hurt a little bit the last 6 months. But Spieth, not a bad option either. Maverick McNeely is a name that I always like to click on because he is such a well-rounded golfer. Missed the cut at the 3M, but did pretty well the 3 events before. Decent course history here. He's a consistent guy. Not going to blow up for you, as you can see. Not going to post those 5+ strokes gained, but the floor is there. So if you're looking for a cheaper Patrick Cantlay-esque option, I think Maverick McNeely is probably the guy that you are going to want to go for. Might be looking to fade Batia. He's played some pretty bad golf. Ricky Fowler is an interesting case in this 7K range because he's another guy, well-rounded, has been playing better golf than he did at the beginning of the year. Decent finishes here. Yeah, that is not a great recent profile. And I'm going to assume he probably doesn't have that ceiling. Yeah, he doesn't have the ceiling and he has a low floor. So Fowler's probably a stay away for me. Although as a fan, I will be rooting for Ricky Fowler. One of my favorite golfers of all time, Ricky Fowler. Had those, back when I was golfing in high school, had those flat bill, multicolor hats. Awesome stuff. And then we'll take a look here. Couple names pop out instantly at the 6K range. We'll start with Grazerman, who missed the cut last week. Not a course fit. Missed 4 straight cuts. 4. That's 4 straight cuts missed. T33 here last year. This guy is going to be in awful shape. What's this yellow column? I don't know what this yellow column is. Grazerman is going to continue to be a fade for me until he can show me that he can play some better golf. He had a decent Friday at the Wyndham, but nothing too impressive. I'm going to stay away from Max Grazerman. Justin Rose is surprisingly enough a guy that has a decent... You can tell he loves playing that golf overseas. Has played well here before. He has a decently high ceiling, which I wouldn't have expected as a guy like Rose. You know, normally you think of a high ceiling, you think of the gentleman that bombed the ball, but 10% of his rounds in the last 6 months have been strokes gained of 5 or more total. So, didn't want to do that. Free ad. Justin Rose, honestly, not an awful option at the 6K range. And if you're building a lineup with Scotty Scheffler, you're going to have to use some of these guys just because his price is so high. So we want to take a look and find some areas maybe where we can make up here. So Minwoo Lee Has a high ceiling. We'll see that here soon, but lots of missed cuts, decent finishes here. Recent form is not going to be great. Around the green, he's good. Driving distance, he's good. If you watch Min-Woo Lee play golf, it's not really a surprise to you. Floor and ceiling. Min-Woo Lee's he's gonna be up here. Yeah, what, 8th? 8th, but he has that low floor, 50% of rounds. He's only posting positive strokes gained in half of his rounds. So if you want to assume some risk there, the upside is high, but you're also risking getting a very bad 4 days from Min-Woo Lee. Sungjae Im, he's going to have the accuracy, but the distance isn't quite there. Great around the green, bad approach player, but that might not matter again. We saw last week, we talked about it on this show. We said approach doesn't really matter at Sedgefield, right? The greens are wide. You're not hitting 240-yard shots into greens. It's a little bit more of the same this week. So we take a look at Sungjae Im. Not great finishes, a couple missed cuts. Again, those approach numbers are bad. Didn't do bad last week. I don't think the approach is going to matter as much, and we see it here with his course history. Not super surprising. Let's take a look at his recent form. We know the approach is going to be bad. I guess Im is pretty. Yeah, approach is bad. Driving distance is bad. That doesn't surprise me. So nothing that I hate there. And Sungjae Im, yeah, low ceiling, low floor. I don't hate in getting him involved in a couple lineups, but he is not going to be a guy that I'm going for in every lineup and saying, hey, if I'm going Scotty, I got to go Sungjae Im. Kevin Yu, another one of our guys, drives the ball well off the tee, putts the ball pretty well. 3 straight missed cuts, though. That's a problem. Has never played here before. As much as I hate to do it to our guy, Kevin Yu, I think I'm going to have to stay away from Kevin Yu this week. Any other guys? Pot Gator interests me. We'll go Tony Finau. Another guy, not a great driver of the golf ball, especially in accuracy. Not great. Hasn't played great golf this year. Decent finishes. We'll take a look at his recent form just because. Yeah, it's not great. You have the distance and around the green going for you, but I don't think the edge is going to be around the green this week. And we'll take a look at his ceiling. Wow, bad. Yeah, Tony Finau is going to be a stay away. Let's go Pot Gator. See what we have here. Boom! Boom! That's my guy right there, 20 years old. Pot Gator is one of my favorite players because it's bomb, and we have the same exact body type. Chubby guy, South Africa. I'm not South African, but chubby guy, representing for all of the chubby guys out there. Won at the Rocket Classic, decent at the Charles Schwab, withdrew from John Deere, and then proceeded to miss the next 2 cuts. This is a guy that is going to have a high ceiling. Just the nature of his game. But he's going to have a low floor. Low floor. Less than 50% of his rounds he posts positive strokes gain. But 8% he posts 5 or more strokes gain. So this is an option. I am personally not a huge fan of Pot Gator this week because ever since he won and withdrew from the John Deere, he's missed 2 cuts, and we don't really know what he withdrew from the John Deere from, if I'm not mistaken. We don't know if it was an injury, personal, we don't know what it was. If you want to shoot for that ceiling, more than fair. I am not willing to take that risk as much this week as I have been in years past. And we'll take a look at... Let's take a look at one of these German gentlemen. German, Belgian. I don't like that course fit. Don't like that. And don't like that. That is a pass for me. Matty Schmid, maybe? Not bad. Hasn't missed a cut since June 8th. Hasn't played here before. Yeah, not a fan of that either. We're just kind of perusing through here, seeing if we like any of these guys. Brian Campbell's going to be a shorter guy. Wow. I mean, he was living off of those 2 wins. That's kind of crazy. That just goes to show you how crazy golf is. Cut, 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 win, cut, withdraw, cut. Cut, 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 win, cut, withdraw, cut. Win 48th, cut, cut, cut. Not a fan of that. And let's click on a few more guys here. Vegas, I don't hate. He's one of my guys. Hasn't played awful, but has played awful at the course. Kevin Yu. Michael Kim, maybe? Is he still on Twitter? He's a decently rounded golfer. Decent finishes here. Not great off the tee the last 6 months. Honestly, Michael Kim, though, has good course history. If you want to take a risk on him, I don't think that would be crazy. Siwoo Kim is going to be a course fit. Cut. Yeah, not bad. There's a reason why he's down there. Okay, so we're up at 40 minutes. We'll take 5 minutes. We'll kind of just go through the list. Guys that I like and guys that I don't like for this week. Let's just go through the list real quick and do it. Scotty Scheffler, I like him. Xander, I do not. Thomas, I do. Henley, I do. Fleetwood, I do not. Fitzpatrick, I do. Indifferent. Hovland? Indifferent. Morikawa, I'm indifferent. Cantlay is going to be a fine option if you want to pay the $9,000 price tag for consistency. High floor, low ceiling. If you don't want to pay that price, I would recommend making your way down the list to Maverick McNeely. For $1,500 discount, you're getting essentially the same golfer, maybe a little bit worse, but Patrick Cantlay has not been great recently. So, Patrick Cantlay, if you want to spend the $9,000, more power to you if you want the bigger name. But I think Patrick Cantlay's skill set and what he can provide for you in terms of fantasy points is going to be very similar to what Maverick McNeely can provide you, especially this week at this tournament. Sam Burns, I will always back that putting. I love that. I'm fading Sepp Straka. Corey Connors is going to be a mainstay. I will probably take Corey Connors to win the tournament as well. Corey Connors has the off-the-tee stuff. I like Corey Connors at 8,500 this week. Aaron Rye's a fine option. I will be fading Cameron Young. And I will probably have some Chris Goddard up in my lineups, just for the ceiling aspect. Harry Hall, I'm going to fade. Daniel Berger, I'm indifferent. Maverick McNeely will be a part of my lineups. Again, I think he's a cheaper Patrick Cantlay this week. Let's go through here. Ricky Fowler will be a fade. Max Grazerman will be a fade. Minwoo Lee will be a fade. Sungjae M, I'm indifferent on. Kevin Yu will be a fade. Tony Finau will be a fade. Potgieter will be a fade. And I think that's really all of the big ones I wanted to hit on. So that's what we're looking at in terms of my thoughts for the week. Follow me on, or follow CarterCast on X. I will have all of the bets posted. That is what I'm feeling for DFS. I will have bets posted on the CarterCast X account probably once this video's up. Maybe sometime tomorrow. But let's take a look. I want to toy around with this tool real quick, maybe the next 2 minutes or so until we wrap up, and just kind of see what we can do. So this is interesting because, again, this is the ceiling floor tool. You can see here, guys, this is the last 6 months amongst the field, every course, every round they've played. You can even see how many rounds they've played, which is nice. Scotty Scheffler, no surprise there. High floor, high ceiling. He's going to be a mainstay in the lineups. But you have Chris Goddard, Justin Rose, and Justin Thomas that are all the top 4 guys in terms of the most rounds they've played with more than 5 strokes gained. Nico's an interesting option too, because this is a guy we didn't even look at. We'll take a look at him real quick. He has the high ceiling. He also has the low floor, similar with Justin Rose. Decent course fit. Never played here before. I'd probably stay away from him, but it is interesting to see that he has that high ceiling. Ideally, you want to look for guys with green in this column and green in this column, because that means they have high floors and high ceilings. Shane Lowry, a great example here. I don't like this layout as much as I like data golfs. Can I X out of that and go here? Not great recent form. Decent course. Okay, so that's not huge. Not a huge fan of that. But we take a look at some other guys here with the highest ceilings. Sam Burns, Jake Knapp, Fitzpatrick. I don't hate getting Fitzpatrick involved. I don't hate getting Henley involved. He's a guy that has a high floor as well. So don't hate that. Corey Connors. And these are all guys we kind of touched on already. Anything else stand out here? Not really. Let's take a look at the guys with the highest floors. These are guys that have posted positive strokes gained in general the most in their last 6 months of play. Harry Hall, consistent option here. We kind of faded him this week, but overall pretty consistent. Fleetwood consistent. Xander consistent, but with a 0%. No rounds with 5 or more strokes gained total. And we can filter this, which is actually kind of interesting. Let's go off the tee. Anybody with 3 or more? No. So off the tee, these are all longer guys, right? These are all longer guys where you make up your ground. So none of this is really surprising. Strokes gained ball striking. Best ball strikers, there's no surprise there. Morikawa. I wonder where Morikawa lacks, though. Maybe putting? I could play with this tool probably all day. Yeah, not great on the putting, so that makes sense. He's a good ball striker, but the putting has hurt. Strokes gained, strokes gained. We'll go back to let's go back to total. No, tee to green. Kurt Kitayama, number 1, huh? So this is strokes gained putting, ceiling floor. It's dangerous when Scotty Scheffler's gaining strokes putting at over half of his events. So really interesting stuff. Thank you guys for watching. This kind of wraps up the preview. It'll be out very shortly. Follow me or follow CarterCast on X if you want to see picks when they come out. They'll probably come out sometime tomorrow. And you know, maybe I'll do a live stream or something if there's enough love. The last video did very well. So please, 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 if you liked the video, please give it a like. It helps us out a ton. If you didn't like the video, feel free to dislike. I just ask one thing. Leave a comment and tell me what you didn't like. That way I can fix it for next time. Thank you guys. And until next week when we go with the BMW Championship. Bye-bye.